All right, I think we are on. Hey guys, this is Renee, Marketing Director out of Houston, Texas, and I have the pleasure of introducing you all to someone very special. So he just kind of brought me back. We were just playing a little bit of catch up because we've both been a part of this company for about 4 years now. And I just remember some history way back when he came in this thing and blew World Ventures out of the park to the point where there was even an investigation on base for him as he was serving overseas as to why they were popping so many BMWs over there. But I don't want to take away from his story, but he's married and a man of value and have two beautiful children. And recently, was it maybe about 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago, at trainer school. Um, it's the top 1% of the company, and everybody's in there learning the skills that they need to become better trainers for their teams, and also to have a new selection of trainers that get to go on the circuit with the regional training events that World Ventures has all across America. And there were, I believe there was 123 new people in there that were not certified trainers yet. And you just kind of get thrown in the fire, and you're told to stand up and just boom, train on something, whatever your subject was. And out of 123 brand new people in the room, this gentleman was actually one of the chosen few that have gotten to be in that circuit. And I just remember the energy that he had when he got up there, and he just completely shut the entire room down. And this is a room full of nothing but IMDs and trainers and knighted trainers. And he just really kind of, I don't know, he killed it in that room that day. So I'm so excited. I'm very, very honored to have him on the call tonight, all the way from Atlanta, Georgia. Hey, Jazz, how are you doing, Mr. Jazz Williams?
Yo, 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 what's going on? What's going on? Thank you. Actually, thank you for having me. This is a pleasure. And I'm excited. It's like, I don't know what time it is there. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning here. What time is it?
1 a.m.
It's 1 a.m. All right, cool, cool, cool. So, but yeah, what's going on? How you doing?
Great. So, I was just kind of sitting here thinking, and I don't know, I saw your name pop up a little bit earlier on social media, and I've been wanting to really connect with you because I know that you have a very powerful story that would really um, parallel a lot of the people that we work with on our team. And I just wanted them to hear your story, where you started, where you've come from, and just kind of give us some background. Like, what was World Ventures, or what was life like before World Ventures? Can we go there?
Oh, yeah, 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 definitely, no doubt. So I'm gonna try to compact all this into a short time frame. But so for me, everybody, my grandmother raised me, from the time I was 3 to about 16, 17 years old. And so life for me, it was just, I was raised by my grandmother, at the age of 3. And I really don't share this story a lot. So it's funny that I'm kind of going in depth with it tonight. But my mom gave me away when I was about 3 years old. And so from the time I was 3 to about 16, 17 years old, like I just always wanted to know how it felt to live in a household with a mom and a dad. Like I always wanted to know how it felt to go ask my mom for something and she tells me no. And then I go ask my dad and he's like, yeah, and then I can have it. But unfortunately, I was never able to grasp that feeling or whatnot. And so, but my grandmother did a great job, and I love her to death. But with all that being said, my entire life, I just made myself a promise that one day, when I get older, or when I got older, and I had kids, that I would be in my kids' life and I would be everything that my parents weren't to me. And so I fast forward, I ended up joining the military. And so here I am, I joined the military. I have a wife, I get married, and I end up having 2 kids. And so the military would take me away from my family a lot, and so I had a job. I was a cop for 7 years, and I was working 12 to 14-hour shifts, and then I would deploy or whatever and be away from my family. And so what ended up happening was there was a night when I was deployed and my wife sends me a text message and she says to me, hey, Zoe, which is my daughter, she's 5 now, but at the time she was maybe like 2 or 3, I'm not sure. And so she says, hey, Zoe wants to know, can we come to your house and play? And I read the message and I laid in my bed and I cried. Like I literally cried that entire night because I knew how it felt for me growing up to not have my parents around. And the last thing I ever wanted was my kids to feel that exact same feeling. And so laying in my bed that night, I actually made a decision that something had to change. And so that something for me was it came in the form of World Ventures, and so that's kind of like my background in a nutshell, and what led me to making some of the decisions I made as I built my dynasty, I guess you would call it, in WV.
So you had some major reasons why to plug into this and just go extremely hard, and they always say that if your why doesn't make you cry, that's not really your why. And again, it just you're for real proof that people are looking and praying for something different. And we definitely have that gift that we can just give to people that really see the vision and do want change in their lives. So from that moment when you saw World Ventures, did you literally feel like that was the answer to all of your prayers in that moment when you saw it, or what was your story behind that?
So for me, when I seen World Ventures, it was a stranger that actually showed it to me, right? And so I'm sitting in the barbershop, and this guy walks up to me and he says, "Hey, do you like to travel and make money?" And my initial thought is like, bruh, like I don't know you like that, like who are you? That's my initial thought. And he shows me this presentation, and it was exciting, and to be completely honest, I didn't have any objections. It wasn't, I didn't think like, is it, a scam? Like the things that I get now, I guess, like I didn't feel that way. The only thing for me was I just didn't know the guy. But I've always been a guy of energy, vibes, and stuff like that. And so you can always just kind of pick up on vibes and stuff. And so he ended up sharing his story, and he told us, some of his success and what he's been able to do. And I had a conversation with my wife, and she seemed to look in my eyes because, as he was sharing his story and he was telling me everything that, he's been able to accomplish in the company, I got excited. And so, yes, to answer your question, yeah, like a part of me kind of put myself in his shoes, and I felt like, okay, this could be it. And I didn't know what it was at that moment, but I knew it was something. So I was like, this could be that. Right. And so yeah, I did get that feeling that,
So perfect stranger walks up to you, cold market, doesn't know you. Do you sign up on the spot?
So no, I didn't. What happened was he actually asked me the one and I think this is going to really turn into a real cool conversation that we're going to end up putting out to a lot of people. And this is a nugget. If I could give you guys any nugget, here's the nugget. The one thing he did that I think a lot of people lack in their business is he followed up, right? And it took me a very long time to understand the fortune is truly in the follow-up. So he said, "Hey, do you mind if I get your phone number?" And I'm cool. I'm like, yeah, no doubt. And he calls and he says, can I pop by, a couple weeks later, maybe 2-3 weeks later. I'm like, yeah, no doubt, man. Come on by the crib. I'm at the house, me and the wife. And granted, I don't know this dude, but he was cool. And so he came by, and that's when he told me his exact words were, "Hey, listen, last month I made about $1,500. And I also qualified for a BMW." And so I look at my wife, and, she kind of was like, she seemed to look in my eyes, and she's like, "Well, go ahead, just go ahead and do it, because you're going to do it anyway." Right. So the whole nugget is this: the fortune is in the follow-up, so a lot of times people may say like, not right now, or whatever the case may be. But guys, like, as you're building your business, one thing I like to teach, to my team when I'm closing is there's that last step in closing, and that last step is the follow-up. So don't be afraid, or don't understand you're a business owner, and understand like you're the CEO of your business. And so don't have ego, and don't think you're too good to call someone and say like, "Hey, has things changed? Is your situation different? Were you able to come up with the money?" And follow up with people.
That is a big nugget. And I know there's a lot of people too that don't believe in follow-ups, but I know this follow-up paid off in a big way for you to marinate on it for a couple of weeks in that one phone call. So just kind of paint a story for everybody, paint a picture of just, your results when you got in, because you had some things moving and shaking. You definitely had that fire in your eye that just completely lit the whole world on fire. So
Yeah, so when we got in, and I'm gonna give you guys because I don't know how much time we got or whatnot. So if we're on the timing limit, that definitely let me know. But when we got in, one thing I'll tell you guys is for us, this is what people didn't know. Like I had got a $200 check, and then 2 weeks later I got a $300 check, and then a couple weeks after that I ended up getting like a $400 check. So here I am, I'm like 21, 22 years old. Got a wife, I got 2 kids. My wife isn't working. Both my kids are in diapers, and they're both actually on Similac. So my back's against the wall. The military at the time was garnishing my checks because they had overpaid me for, a reason that I won't really get into or whatnot. And so I really didn't have a choice but to go build this. Like WV at the time was my only option. And our first day, we actually made close to $1,000. We made about $988, I want to say, our first day actually building the business. And then 3 days later, that was a Wednesday, April 17th, if I'm not mistaken. And then 3 days later, by that Friday, we ended up car qualifying, hitting the BMW. And we're not talking like tier 1, and not to brag or anything, but like this is the equivalent of hitting tier 3 in 3 days. And so we were able to do that. And 4 weeks into it, we found ourselves senior reps in the company and pushing for a director. So that's what my first 30 days looked like, in the business.
oh, because I know this 30 days to hit senior rep, you make $1,000 in your first day, 3 days car qualified, tier 3 basically, and senior rep in 4 weeks. So what type of activity, what were you doing? Was it travel parties, two-on-ones, combination? Like what were you doing in that 24 hours to have that many people go into the system?
So I guess I'll start the conversation off with just I made a decision. And I feel like at every point in my life, right, when I was 3, I made a decision that I didn't want to be what my parents were. When I joined the military, I made a decision. I didn't want to live check to check. I didn't want to be broke. And so like for me, when I got started in WV, I made a decision. And so again, Nugget, I think a lot of people, when they actually get started, one thing they lack is they don't actually make the decision to go build this thing. And some people, they want to be pretty. They want to be cute when they do it. Like you can't be cute when you're building WV. You can't be, there's no pretty way to go build this. And so for me, like, I'm telling you, like wherever you was at, like I was there, and to give you the real story, that Wednesday when I made that $1,000, I actually called my supervisor and I said, hey, listen, something came up. I was wondering if I could take the next 2 days off of work. And he was like, yeah, of course. So for 3 days, I didn't sleep. So I don't want you guys to think it like it was a pretty way when I actually made or hit the car bonus in 3 days. It wasn't pretty. Like it was 72 hours of literally no sleep. Like I didn't sleep for 72 hours. And I was showing any and everybody, like those little green dots that you see on Facebook and people are online. Like I'm going through Facebook, anybody who had a green dot, like I was hitting them up because my mindset was, if we're cool enough to be friends on social media, then we have to be cool enough for me to share this with you. Like if I can't share this with you, but yet I allow you in my life on social media, maybe we shouldn't be friends. So I was showing everybody on Facebook, everybody at my job. Like I was showing everybody, the people at the gym. Like when I was at the gym and if I was hooping or whatnot, and this was like my push to senior rep, like as I was hooping or whatever the case may be, like if we lost, the 4 other dudes who lost, like I was pulling out my phone like, yo, you need to watch this video. Now, granted, I'm not telling you guys to do that or whatever the case may be, because that's completely probably not the way you want to do it. But that was just my mindset. And 2, I didn't have financial goals. Like my goals weren't like, oh, I want the car. I didn't know what the car bonus was. All I knew was I had a wife and I had 2 kids. And so the thing that was behind it, that was pushing me the entire time, was my why. And I think a lot of times as we build this business, and I say we because me too, a lot of times as we build this business, like we forget about the why and we get so caught up in, oh, such and such just hit senior rep. Oh, such and such did this. Oh, such and such are putting people in, or such and such said no. Like for me, none of that stuff mattered. Like nothing mattered but my why, but making sure I had enough food on the table to feed my kids and my wife.
That's major. Yeah, because if the why is big enough, the how don't matter, it just kind of happens. So how many with that type of energy that you're pushing forward in order to hit those ranks that fast, and not really, unless you had really good leadership with you, did your sponsor really help train you through the motions of what to do as you were putting everybody in the system and just kind of creating that duplication? Or were you just ignorance on fire? This is what I have. This is what I'm excited about. And everybody just kind of plugged in. About how many people did you end up having to show over that time period? Because I think, a lot of people get caught up in the, oh, I'm going to show a few of my friends, and if they say no, then this must not work, or they get their feelings hurt and they kind of go away. But what kind of, and we preach over and over that this is a numbers game. So what did your numbers look like during that first month?
To be completely honest, I could, if my life depended on it, I couldn't tell you. Like, I really, honest to God, could not tell you. I just know it was a lot. Like, it was a lot of people. And it all makes sense now. Then I was just showing people, because you got to understand, like, my mom gave me away when I was 3, a part of the story I didn't tell you, like, when I was 16, my grandma kicked me out. Like, the first 2 months of my senior year, like, I didn't go to school. So for me to emotionally detach myself from situations that's easy. I've been emotionally detaching myself from situations since I was 3 years old, and moving and kept it moving. And so for me, if somebody told me no, and so I immediately would emotionally detach myself and just go to the next person, because at the end of the day, like, I knew what I was going to do. I knew what value I was bringing to the table. And so, I guess, and this is what makes sense now, looking back on it, what I understand is, like, and this is what you, like, I don't know who this webinar is going to reach. But what I will tell you is this is what you have to understand. This is chess, not checkers. See, I think a lot of people are playing checkers. But when you make that mental switch and you understand, you got to understand that there are people in this company, and I'm not going to say the exact number, but I will say this. There are people in this company that make over $500,000 per month. And so when you understand that, you really get to a point where you understand it's chess, not checkers. And so I say all of that to simply say this: McDonald's, they share their concept or their ideal or their burgers or their advertisement with this many people, but only this many people actually decide to eat there. Burger King, they share with this many people, but only this many people decide to eat there. And so on and so forth. So does Sprint, so does Verizon, like all these different companies, they share with this many people, but only this many people actually decide to use their product. And so as for you, you're a business owner. Whoever's listening to this webinar, like, you are a business owner. And what you have to get to a point of understanding is you have to share your business idea with this many people, but only this many people are really going to decide to become customers of your product. And so I think that's one thing that I didn't know then, but now I know. So to say how many did I show, I don't know, but I do know this, going back to the original question, is I shared it with this many people and this many people decided to do it. But that many people actually turned into, the team that we have now.
That's amazing. So we have some really big things happening in the company with all of our technology. What's coming up in Dallas here in the first weekend of April? So what would you say to the person that's kind of on the fence right now? They don't know whether or not if they can take the time off of work, or having to find sitters for the kids, and to really have to, some people have to totally rearrange their entire life in order to get to this event. And we have people coming in from all over the world, in every corner of the world, coming to one place where we do this once a year. But we have something epic. We've been talking about we're gonna get a stadium one day, and we've been packing out these arenas event after event after event. But now that day has finally come, and I'm excited. It's been 4.5 years since I've been a part of World Ventures, and just to see the constant growth, and it's here. So United is coming up in Dallas, Texas, the weekend of April 7th. And what would you say to that person that's still kind of on the fence of whether or not they should go?
So the first, I guess I feel like it's so much I can say to you, but a few things that I'll say is you going back to your why, ask it like, why did you decide to get started with WV in the beginning? And once you answer that question, then ask yourself another question, which is, what do you actually want out of WV, right? And like, I wish I could just pause for a few minutes and really say, like, what do you want, and give you time to answer that question. And then I want to ask you a different question, which is, what do you expect out of WV, right? And so to clarify where I'm going with this is, see, wants come up in conversation, expectations show up in behavior, right? And so you guys have to implement the behavior that's going to coincide with your expectations. And see, a lot of us, we expect certain things, and we expect, we want certain things, and we want to go to the next level. We want to make the next rank. We want to have a big team, but the behavior just doesn't match up, right? With none of that stuff. And so the only thing I guess, well, not the only thing, but one of the things I would share with you guys is just allow your expectations to match up with your behavior. And if you really expect not just something out of WV, but just something out of life, you should be there at that event, and so that's one key thing I'll tell you, because for me, like, you have to, what we did was at every point, and I go back to this, deciding at every point in my life, we had to decide, we had to make a decision on where we were going to go in life. And we had to ask ourselves a lot. It wasn't just one time we had to ask this question. I say we, because me, my wife, and my kids, because we were all involved in this decision, but we had to ask ourselves a lot. Are we willing to give up who we are for who we want to become?
Amen.
Like, we really had to ask ourselves that question. And then if the answer was yes, what we had to do was we then had to decide, right? We then had to decide on making it happen. And I really pinpoint on decide, because I love that word, because the root word of decide is to side, right? So like pesticide, suicide, homicide, which is to kill off. And so all I want to ask you guys is to just make a decision and decide that you're going to be there and kill off every reason that you guys have to not show up, right? Kill off every reason that you have to not show up, and just make a decision to be there, because your wants show up in your conversations and your expectations show up in your behavior, right? And then for the people who've been in the business for a couple years, for the ones who've been around for a while, I just want you guys to really meditate on this. This is what I want you to meditate on, because I'm speaking to two types of people who've been around for a while, and then the new people who just really have to make that decision. And so for the people that's been around for a while, understand that actually this is for everybody, but for every one person that you have on your team that's at this next big event or any national event from here on out, they're worth $1,000 per year in residual income. So if you have 10 people from your organization that's showing up at the national events, I can almost guarantee you that your checks are around about $10,000 a year. If you have 20 people, your checks are around, right, close to it, about $20,000 a year. And so when you start really thinking about it like in that aspect, it changes the game. And it's like, it's a must. You got to be there. You got to be there. So, for us, like, we made decisions time and time again. We had to get babysitters. We literally had to let strangers watch our kids for a whole entire weekend, and then pay the stranger, on top of that, like literally I think maybe $500 to watch them that weekend. So me and my wife could fly from England back to America to attend events. And we never missed an event. When we lived in England, we never missed an event. And so now, fast forward, here we are, regional trainers in the company, 100K LTE ring earners, and so it pays off. But you got to be willing to go ahead and make that sacrifice now, because what you do today is going to pay you tomorrow. What you do today is going to pay you tomorrow.
Definitely. Those were some major, major keys. Thank you for sharing that, because I know we have some big technology that's on the verge of being released here pretty soon. So I know we're all working very diligently and urgently to get this in front of everybody we know before the actual launch of our technology to the world. So um, as far as like you and your team and the promotion of our smart card, our fly card, what kind of spark has that created among your group?
So, all right, so you might not like this question, right? I mean, this answer, but I'll be honest. So for us, I once heard June, he was talking on a call, and this was probably about 2 years ago. And he was he was basically saying, if you continue to just work hard and that just is in you and this is what you do, when promotions come, like you don't have to get excited about the promotion because you're already there. You're already putting in the work and like it's just going to pay itself forward. And so for me and my organization, that's where we are. Like we're just like for us, like we're just working hard. And so when they dropped the promotion, it was just like qualified, like we were there. You know, we were there. But to be honest, like when I sat down with Troy and I seen Troy actually use the fly card and I seen how it was literally like fish jumping in the boat. I can't. I would be a liar if I said I didn't get excited. And I would be a liar if I didn't tell you, you know, I got on the phone with my team and I was like, listen, this really did complete the ecosystem.
Yeah.
And so for us, we were already working hard, but it was almost like if I could explain it, it was like throwing gasoline in a room full of dynamite,
Hmm.
right? And so it just really just took it to a whole nother level.
Nice, nice. So now that you've had this amazing story with World Ventures, I asked you at the beginning, what did life look like before World Ventures? What does it look like today?
Man, it's trying to find something to do in your spare time. No, I'm just playing. Like for us, like I mean, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. Like I don't have any worries as far as like, oh, I gotta be up at this time. I think before we got on this webinar, I was at the gym at like midnight working out. So I mean, life is good. Life is really good. You know, I don't like to brag too much as far as like what we do, but you know, we can pick up and go when we want to go. You know, I'll be in Miami after you United, and so we just have fun. We travel, we live life, we have fun, and we get to meet amazing people and just and share stories and stuff like that. So like it's definitely worth it. I can tell you that it's worth it.
Well, thank you so much, Jazz, for your time. And I know it is 2 o'clock in the morning. It's actually 1:23 a.m. right here in Houston too, on my side of the world. So yeah, this is the type of lifestyle that World Ventures affords us. So I'm up late packing for Dubai right now. So it has been quite an amazing journey, and I appreciate you just sharing your story so you can impact somebody else tonight. And I'll be posting this, and I hope that this reaches a lot of people that need to hear what you have to say. And if you don't, by the way, you guys, if you don't already have your ticket for United, get it now. They're actually the lowest I've ever seen tickets for a national event ever. So I know normally we were paying about $250, close to $300 for just one general admission ticket, and they've dropped these prices down to $70 if you know somebody that already has a one at full price. So you definitely want to get registered for this event. It's at wveventreg.com. Again, that's wveventreg.com, and we will see you in United.